Okay.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Alex and DJ Watch a Doc. I'm Alex.
I'm DJ.
We're watching we watched today, this week.
That's right. The doc we watched was Citizen USA, a 50-state road trip.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was a nice, simple concept. It was the documentarian Alexandra Pelosi just going to the naturalization ceremonies of all these new Americans across the country.
That's right. And why did we watch it?
This is big.
Blowing a flag for the listeners.
What kind of flag?
An American flag.
Why do you have an American flag?
Because I'm an intentional American.
Intentional?
That's the word they used.
Really?
Welcome to the intentional Americans.
Really?
Yes.
Is that like a legal term?
Yeah, because if you're born here, you're not really intentional.
An unintentional American.
I'm an unintentional American. I'm an unintentional Canadian who's now dually now intentional. I'm unintentional and intentional.
I love it. Because last week we talked about how this week you had your test and everything to see.
Yep.
And then
I had a civics test and I had the swearing in, and now I'm an American citizen.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
you
all
feel
right.
different?
I feel a little different. I feel like I have more civic duties.
Really?
A little bit.
You know what's interesting is like I downplayed how important it was in my head. Oh yeah, becoming a citizen. But watching this documentary last night, I was like, this is a big deal to a lot of people the world over.
Because we're Canadian and we're spoiled.
You're right.
And so we don't really see it because Canada is also very good. Let's not forget.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but by the way, this is a special one too because it says if you zoom in right here.
U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Yeah, so this is not just any tiny little American flag. This is official from the source.
At what point in the process did they give that flag to you?
By the way, I did wear a little red, white, and blue. There you go.
So did I. I mean, I went hard with it.
You went all the way.
And I'm not even a citizen.
All the way to the pants.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know if that's in the shot, but yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a permanent resident. You were a permanent resident, and then you did this naturalization process. You're a citizen now. You feel more civic duty. What does that look like? What civic duty do you feel?
I feel like I because for a while I kind of felt like I'm there's like, you know what, all this and that. There's not really much I can do about it. Like, what can I do? What right do I have to do anything about it in terms of politics, in terms of anything? Because am I maybe here temporarily? I'm not a citizen. I don't, I'm a resident, a permanent resident, green card holder. I was that. Prior to that, years ago, I was also a work visa holder.
Mm-hmm. You've gone through every step.
I have the steps. I do all the steps. I don't, mess around. I like to go through the process. Due process. Anyway, so then I feel now it's like, well, now particularly when you read all the questions, as you're studying for the civics test.
Tell me about that.
It's 100 questions. I mean, there's a new one. I think it could have been that perhaps the Trump administration tried to make it a little trickier or something, because they said if you already applied prior to December, then you can take the 2008 test as opposed to the 2020 test or something like that. So I took the 2008 test, so I didn't really take a look at what the questions were for the 2020. I was actually going to, and then I forgot to. But there's like 100 questions, and you have to answer 10.
So you were
10 randomly. They pick it on the computer. There's a guy that at the desk, and he would just hit next and then ask the question that was on the screen.
Where'd you do it?
I did it at the U.S. Immigrations at 300, the immigration office at
downtown LA.
Yeah.
We went there last summer because Madge got her green card.
Yeah.
Because I have my green card through our marriage.
Yes.
It's a little intimidating in there.
It is, yes. Yeah, you kind of want to make sure you do the right thing. You don't want to. It's like you don't, until you get your citizenship, you don't want to piss off the wrong people.
No.
But then once you get it, you say anything you want and you say it loud. That's right. That's what I'm doing right now.
That's the American way.
Yeah.
That's the voice of dissent.
I'm living the dream by being loud.
You know, when I went for my green card thing with Madge, I told the guy, our interviewer, straight up at the beginning, because there was a partition, a glass partition, and he had a mask on. So I was like, hey, just want to let you know, like, if I'm stalling and answering you, it's because I can't hear you. It's not like there's nothing nefarious going on over here. He was like, oh, okay. I just wanted to, I didn't want him to be like, this guy is, acting unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unusually deaf. That's what I am.
No, you're actually quite commonly deaf.
Yeah, is it common?
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
You're a very common man.
So you go in, you've studied 100 questions, but there's only 10 they give you, and you have to get 6 right?
That's right. And I've discovered in answering the 6, which, by the way, I got all 6 right.
Really? Can you tell me what the questions were?
I can try.
What do you mean you got all 6 right? You got 10 questions,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. So what happens is I got 6 right, and then the test was over. I passed.
They didn't even give you the other 4.
The other 4, because why do they need to when you get 6 in a row?
What were the 6 you got right?
Well, I'm glad you asked. No, I don't remember. I
really?
No, I do remember. I remember where the Statue of Liberty is located.
That's a question?
Yeah. Do you know?
Not just New York City? Like
You can say New York.
Ellis
But
Island?
I said New York Harbor.
New York Harbor.
Yeah, it's also Liberty Island.
Okay.
I actually remembered all of the answers.
Did
even
you
though
say all of them?
You only have to answer one of them.
It's
No, I
not
didn't.
multiple choice,
No,
though?
I didn't. But my wife is a tiger mom, and she made me make sure I knew all of them.
Tiger mom. Is that the term for...
You don't know that one?
Is that for, like, Chinese mom?
Yeah, like a kind of like a sort of makes the kids study.
Yeah,
very
play
strict,
your piano
strict
8
kind of-
hours.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
strict mother demands excellence.
Tiger mom.
Yeah. So anyway, I did answer a lot of them. One was kind of funny because there was one where I kind of stalled a bit, and I couldn't remember if I got it right. But so I said, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Did I get like all 6 right? And he said, no, I think you got 1 wrong. He sort of seemed a little kind of slow. And then he looked at it, and then he said, for the senators, first of all, I didn't answer anything in regards. So he was already like kind of like guessing. He said like something about like you answered 12 senators, but there's only 10. So I did answer 12 Supreme Court justices, which is correct. And there aren't 10 senators. There's, I think, 100 senators from what I recall, 2 for each state.
Mm-hmm.
So he was wrong in answering whether I was wrong.
And then you took away his citizenship.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I said, I'll have yours. I don't want a new one. I just want yours.
So what else? So you had a question about the amount of Supreme Court justices. That's 12. New York Island is where, or New York Harbor is where the Statue of Liberty is.
Yeah, there were also things like Constitution. Like I think it was a question of like the rights, name a right. And it was like I just said freedom of speech, freedom or right, or something like that. And I said freedom of speech. It was like something simple like that. It was like from the first like before the, I think it was like before the amendments. He was asking me like the original. There was like things like that, like or maybe it was like maybe asked about the first 13 colonies.
First 13 colonies?
Yeah, the original.
Before they were states.
Yeah, I had to name like 2 or 3 of those. So things like Delaware, New York was one, New Hampshire. There's a bunch. I think North and South Carolina, like things like that. I mean, I can go off on all of them, but how interesting would this be if we spent most of this on the civics test? Seems like you want to. Like you're really kind of curious for your own interest.
I do want to do it. Yeah, I do think I want to become a citizen. I do want to say about this movie, because we are spoiled coming from Canada too, and it is easy to have this cynical view of all the things that are wrong with America, especially in this time, the presidency of recent years, the protests last year, so much. And it's easy to focus on those things. This documentary, when I was watching it last night, it was jingoistic, like. Yes. But I felt it. I was watching it. I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's great living in
Be
America.
a part of this country. I mean, yes, there's certain things that, it was what was, I read once, was considered like an exit poll more than a documentary. I mean, it really was. It was just a lot of just people who had just become naturalized. So clearly they're going to be happy as can be. I think I was after this, my wife was like on I think it was maybe on like a Chinese social media thing, and she was talking about a
Weibo?
guy. Maybe that was it. And she said that she was like one guy said that he got his citizenship and then got here and then like had some issue. Maybe it was with health care, and he's like, I want to go back. I want my Chinese citizenship again. Like, because you have to renounce.
That's something I wanted to ask you about. You can't keep dual citizenship because they said you had to renounce.
Some countries you do. Like I can, as a Canadian citizen, I can still keep my Canadian citizenship. I don't know why it is that. First of all, I don't know why it is some countries you can't unless it's that country that decides it. Right, like China, for example, will say, "Oh, well, if you become an American, we're not allowing you to be a citizen." I think that's what happens. But it is strange. Like it's like there's this idea of like renouncing, but I'm like, I'm not really renouncing. I mean, I wasn't really renouncing. I'm a dual citizen, as far as I understand. So I don't know whether this sort of general, all-encompassing oath, always applies in the same way in every circumstance.
Yeah, because that was the one thing I was like, I don't want to renounce my Canadian citizenship, but you didn't have to.
No, I mean, you say these things, but I don't know what they mean if you don't actually lose your citizenship.
You don't.
You're like supposed to like be loyal to America, and you're supposed to give up loyalty to your previous country.
Do you feel more loyal to America now?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if you're going to say it, you might as well mean it.
Yeah.
I say a little bit. No, I do. I mean, there's like a recall vote coming up of Newsom.
For Newsom, yeah.
Right?
Are you going to vote?
I'm going to be able to, I'm going to register.
Which way are you going to go?
I'm not going to let him get recalled.
No?
Because even if I have a problem with him, I mean, this is more like, it's more of this, look, the Republican Party's has some issues right now. And if they want to get rid of him so they could put somebody else in, I don't know who they're going to put in. And I don't know if I agree with everything they do. I mean, I like to be somewhat like, I don't like to be all the way on one side necessarily of anything. I don't believe in one team.
You're American now. Pick a team, Alex.
No, I'm free.
That's right.
That's what I am. You're free to not vote.
That's true.
Right? I will, but I'm free not to.
True.
But it's a civic duty. That's one thing I learned in my civics test.
That's great. You know what else was great about this doc or interesting is it was 2011. So it was a time capsule, really. Like it opened with Obama. It opened with Pelosi. I wonder if she's related to Nancy Pelosi, but Alexandra Pelosi.
She is absolutely related to it. And I'm just going to interject real quick because I thought to myself, she managed to get some pretty good gets when she got Albright and Kissinger, right? And I'm thinking like, I thought this was just somebody with a camera because it looks like just somebody with a camera.
Yeah.
But no, she's been making documentaries. She's had a documentary in Sundance. She's like a known documentarian and is the daughter of Nancy Pelosi.
She is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I looked her up. Yeah. So I'm sorry if whatever it is you were going to say, I just wanted to make sure you knew that, yes, you were dealing with Nancy Pelosi's daughter before you speak.
Because I was going to shit all over her. You know me. I just love ragging on people.
Yeah, especially speakers of the House's kin.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not she's a speaker of the House's kin, I treat everybody the same. You know what I mean? That fact will not change my opinion at all.
You're very egalitarian.
That's right. My dad always taught me that. Nobody's better than you and nobody's worse than you.
Is that right?
That was like the main thing my dad always told me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good
so he would be like,
humility.
you treat a millionaire the same way you treat a homeless person.
Oh, he did do
that. Was like
yeah.
his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he treated them all really weirdly. But all of them weirdly, Alex.
Consistent.
So the criteria here, I was looking at this and I wanted. So what I was going to say was they met with Pelosi's husband, who was becoming that was kind of the through line.
Right.
He was becoming a citizen, and he said because she was American and their kid was American, he said, I can't be a foreigner in my own family.
Right.
I like that line.
Yeah, I think that makes sense in a way, doesn't it?
For sure. But they met Obama. At the opening scene is him meeting Obama and Obama being like, I want your vote.
That's
but
right.
it seemed so, obviously there was dysfunction in the country at that time too, and it wasn't utopia, but it seemed like, didn't it just feel like a breath of fresh air?
It did, yeah. It was hearkening to another time.
It was. I had my nostalgic glasses on. It was like the halcyon days of 2011.
Yeah, that's when it was. It was 2011.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize when we picked this. I just picked I just looked up, let's do something about new Americans or about citizenship or whatever. And this came up and I assumed it was recent. I was like, oh, it's on HBO. It's probably recent. And sure enough, it's 10 years old.
Yeah.
And we watched it. And I watched it. And also, I watched it with viewing it, having been through the ceremony in pandemic circumstances. So I didn't get the same experience I'm a little resentful about that.
What was your
I'm
experience?
a little resentful about that. You know, I'm realizing I have to yell more from the diaphragm when I feel opinionated about something.
Give it to me.
Yeah. Well, I was there was what do you call it? Yeah, they had they had songs. You could sing-alongs. There was none of that.
I loved that in the movie. Every different area had their own flavor, the way they sang the songs.
Yeah, everybody had their songs. You had a local favorite hitting a thing. I don't know. Did you see that?
The girl?
Did you see there was a woman?
woman?
There was a woman, yeah, like a middle-aged woman.
Yahoo!
And she's sitting, and you see it had her name and it said local favorite.
I love that.
What is local favorite?
It was
It's
great.
Like, you guys, you have a favorite around here that you locals have a favorite?
That's probably her whole career, just going to all the naturalization ceremonies. Yahoo!
Yeah, she loves it. Yeah, and she's a favorite. No, we didn't have any local favorite. Can you imagine a local favorite in L.A.? That's going to be a quality talent.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have like Anderson .Paak or something coming in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I just
You don't know Anderson .Paak?
Who's that?
He's a great singer,
Okay.
drummer, musician.
Is he
Him and Bruno Mars have a thing going on
Oh,
right
I
now. It's
see.
called Silk Sonic. They're doing their own thing. He's good. He's really good.
And he's a L.A. Local favorite?
I think he's from LA. I was actually trying to think of Ty Dolla $ign. He's definitely an LA guy.
Okay, well, that's
Another
a
great
local
guy.
favorite that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no singing, no introducing yourself and finding out that there are 23 countries represented here that had that. I didn't get any of that. All I got was like a lineup with everybody with masks on outside in the courtyard. Walking up, you give your...
A bug just landed on me.
on your eyelash.
Yeah.
Real ballsy bug.
I know. He's
Yeah.
like, this guy's slow. He won't get to me.
Yeah,
in
that's right.
time.
You know what it is? It's because you're the only one who's not American in the room. Is that right, Bug?
That's
Yeah,
right.
no
He wouldn't
flies
bother.
on me.
So are you an American now? Like, you're a citizen, but can you call yourself you're an American?
Well, why wouldn't I be? Yeah. No,
Wow. I
isn't it
feel
weird?
different around you
Is it
now.
true? Yeah, you should. You should watch your mouth because, well, I tell you, we got a military. A military? A military?
I like this. You're braggadocious. You're loud. You're proud. I like it. Your chest got bigger. I
Oh,
can
yeah,
see
I'm
it.
puffing up.
I love that one guy who moved from Canada to America in the doc, and they were like, "Why'd you move here?" He was like, "The guns."
That was embarrassing.
He's like, "I love guns. They're too hard to get in
Yeah.
Canada."
Love to purchase guns.
He was like, "So I like, clay shooting, skeet shooting." And then they were like, "How many guns do you have now?" And he does that coy look. He's like, "Is my wife going to be watching this?"
Yeah,
He was
right.
like, that question is like if somebody asked you like, "Oh, how many shoes do you have in your shoe collection?"
Sure.
That's a cute answer to that. Is my
Sure.
wife going to see this? But how many guns do you have? Is my wife going to
Wife
see
gonna
this? That's a sinister answer to that question. I mean, she knows I have 49 gun, but she doesn't know about the 50th under the pillow. You know what I'm saying?
And what precisely you plan to do with that one? Yeah. That was
You thought that was
concerning.
embarrassing? Because I thought that was like I was, at first, I was like, man, look at this, gun-loving maniac. But then I was like, I guess if you do love guns for the purpose of sport, it is better to live in. But aren't you able to get hunting guns in Canada?
That's what I'm surprised by, because he said something about getting a rifle for skeet shooting, and I'm thinking, I think a rifle's not so much the issue. I think it's handguns that are the issue. But maybe rifles are also a bit of an issue. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't think it was that big a deal, but I said it was kind of embarrassing because it's such a. It was embarrassing for all those involved. Because it's such a stereotype, it's like the stereotypical Canadian is here because he loves guns, which is stereotypically American. So I just thought it was embarrassing.
I would guess, with our American knowledge, our Canadian knowledge, if I had to guess, because he moved to Texas too. That's where he moved.
Yeah.
I bet you that guy was from Alberta.
You know what? I think you're about right, because Alberta is the Texas of Canada.
Oh, yeah. Oil country.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yes.
is my wife going to be watching this? So the criteria for becoming a citizen, you have to have been a permanent resident for 3 to 5 years. You fit that. You have to read, write, and speak English. You have to be a person of good moral character.
I love that. Did you notice that one?
Yeah, that's
Good moral character. Did you see some of them? So those questions?
There were some funny ones. Have you ever bought or sold marijuana? Did you have to answer that?
No, I didn't have to answer that.
Because that was part of their
No, that's
good
like a
moral.
federal question versus a state question, right?
Have you ever sold your body for money?
I saw that. I thought that's a bit of sex work shaming, isn't it?
Exactly.
I thought, what is that? What maybe? How about if I bought or sold my body for food? Huh? For my
Yeah.
child? Huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
But in answer to your question, no,
No,
I haven't. But what if I did?
Yeah, what if I did? I absolutely wouldn't. I think I wouldn't want. But for those who,
It was also kind of sexist because there was that older man, and they asked him the question, and then have you ever sold your body for money? And him and his daughter or whoever it was with him and the interviewer, they all laughed, and she was like, "You think he?" And it was like, he might have.
yeah.
Why? Because he's old and because he's a man, we're going to assume this dude didn't maybe have to sell his body at some point?
You don't know anything.
Yeah. How funny is that?
Not only that, but what are you laughing at? Some people are in terrible situations.
Yeah.
Also, are you a habitual drunkard?
Was that a question?
That was the first. I actually did a screen cap of that when I first. That was for when I think it was when I first applied. It was already in the what do you call it? Like in the form to apply the application. You know, half a year to a year ago when I applied, so it was there, and I saw habitual drunkard.
Drunkard is such an old-timey word.
What year was this questionnaire written?
No, I'm a teetotaler, actually.
Yeah. And in fact, I'm not, but I am a chronic pothead, which is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's such a weird question. Another one that kind of made me squeamish, I guess, was, have you ever been part of the Communist Party? Was another question they were asking somebody in it. I'm like, you're not allowed to have been? I know there's obviously negative aspects of the Communist Party.
That shirt is mighty red now that I think of it, more than it is white or blue.
But would that preclude you from coming to America if you said, yeah, I was a part of the Communist Party?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been, so I assume that. I mean, what if you were a member of a communist party because you had no choice in your country? I guess it depends on if you come clean on it, and then maybe they start asking you, well, what were you involved in? Because they're wondering if you're infiltrating and you're trying to spread the Red Menace.
True.
You know?
Red Menace. Nice. Great word. Great. Like, in terms of, like, spreading fear of a particular ideology, Red Menace is... That's a good choice. You know, like Reefer Madness, and like you can see the posters in your mind, but Red Menace.
Red Menace, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, sometimes I've popped a zit. I call it a Red Menace. It's just all a matter of scale. There was, what, you had a thing? You want to say something else?
No. Listen, you're American now. You don't have to worry if I was going to say
That's
anything.
right.
You just steamroll ahead. Yeah.
The hell with that.
You're showing you're Canadian.
Oh yeah, the idea of the opportunity of running for office. They mentioned that too.
Yeah.
I never thought of it. You know, I thought I'm not political. I've never been that political. But you know, that you start saying these things, you start answering these questions in the tests, and you start swearing oaths, and you start thinking, maybe I should have some responsibility in my life. Maybe I should be responsible to my fellow citizens, to my community.
And run for office?
No.
Senator Grassley from Iowa was the one who said that. He was like, no, I don't want you running against me. But it's funny seeing these people because, you know, anytime I see Grassley in the news, like it's for something bad. He's doing something.
I don't know that much about Grassley. Tell me.
I don't know much about him either, except that when he comes up on Colbert or Bill Maher or whatever, they're never like, you know, really happy to be talking about Senator Grassley again. They're like, this fucking guy.
And he was in it.
Yeah, he was the guy. He was the guy in Iowa saying you can run for office now.
Right, that's what it was. I see.
But it was interesting seeing these people who I usually see with some sort of negative connotation. Although if I watched Fox News or something, I'd probably see them in a more positive light.
Yes.
But just seeing them just welcoming people to the country, like everything seemed really quaint.
Well, it was supposed to be kind of a Valentine's to the country, right? It's supposed to be a love letter to the. So yes, it was pretty much all positive.
Yeah, except when they showed Arizona, and they were showing all those protesters outside because of the strict new anti-immigration laws.
Yes.
That was, and it was near the end of the movie. That was when the like balloon popped for me. I was like, oh, okay, this is the real world.
Sure.
And the guy, the Mexican immigrant who had just become American citizen, compared being Mexican in Arizona to being a Jew in Nazi Germany. I was like, ooh, that's a heavy metaphor. This guy just got his citizenship, and he's willing to say that here, like literally outside of the ceremony. Yeah, it was.
I think that's it, right? Outside of the ceremony, empowerment.
Yeah,
he's got that certificate. Yeah.
But I like that he's still, because sometimes immigrants get their citizenship, and then immediately like frown upon the illegal immigrants from their own country,
That's
even though
true.
it was them for 20 years. You're like,
Sure.
why can't you be more like me? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you're me.
Yeah.
You just happen to.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was still like empathetic for their plight was like, okay, like, I don't know.
He was a decent man.
Yeah, we'll give him 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He starts getting jingoistic himself.
But the jingoism was contagious, man. Like hearing, the deaf woman from Russia saying, I couldn't show that I had a disability in Russia. I was like, yeah, that's true. She was like pointing at the ASL interpreter at her swearing in ceremony, and she was like, this is America. Or the guy from Pakistan who loves chasing girls and saying, in Pakistan, if I tried to, tell a girl she was cute, his friend was like, I say, if you say these things in Pakistan, you would be beheaded.
Yeah.
And they had a good laugh over it.
Yeah.
But, the woman from Iran saying, or even the woman from Korea saying they don't care what women think in Korea. Or Iran. In Korea, if you give birth to a baby boy, that you put red peppers in the window, baby girl, nothing.
Was that no, that was China. Because there were twins, right? Wasn't that China? Because twins.
Oh, that was another example. The twin, but there was a woman from
was that
Korea.
China? Oh, that was from Korea. Okay.
There was lots of
Because in
anti-woman
China,
sentiment.
the idea of twins, they said it was unusual, right? But
Because of the one-child policy.
Actually, my wife said something about how usually it's like kind of this. It's like you're kind of special if you have a brother or sister. It means that it's like you're either your parents are kind of open-minded or they're very rich because of the tax on having a second child is heavy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That policy's over now, though.
Yeah,
right?
but but she was she was born in it.
Is she an only child?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I was in China like 12 years ago, and my chaperone was married to a woman with a disability. She had been born with something, or she was stricken with something like polio when she was young, and so now she had a really pronounced limp, and she had a walker, and it was tough for her to move around.
Right.
And when she walked around China in Beijing, everybody stared. It was like insane. One time, I didn't see this personally, but she said one time she was walking down the street and the guy was staring at her so hard while he was walking by her that he couldn't stop looking at her, and he walked right into a fountain and tipped over into water. Yeah, so watching so many of these people from other countries just describe what America represented to them and the hardship of where they came from was kind of a reminder that I have it very good here.
Yes. Yeah. But again, some people might respond to that this is it's like, yes, America is great for these things if you only look at America, but some other countries like European countries or Canada or Australia would say, well, yeah, we have those things too, and we also have some universal health care if you need it.
Yeah.
So there's America does have a certain element of opportunity. This is why we're here, particularly in our field, entertainment. It's kind of hard to really make something of yourself in a big way, in Canada in entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a real ceiling. So it feels very limiting. It feels like you're not appreciated. It feels like you're kind of like, everybody up there is watching American shows anyway.
Yeah.
So you sort of feel like, well, I mean, why am I here if you don't appreciate me, why would I be? I ain't gonna be. I'm gonna stick around and get kicked around.
Yeah.
And so yes, it is enticing for that.
It's a land of opportunity.
It is enticing. So that is what separates it. But of course, some people might say maybe that opportunity exists because, well, if you make some, you can keep it all, and it's not as much. It's like, well, if you don't take care of your health, that's your problem. That's not our problem. It's the idea of maybe that's where the greatness comes from. But also, a lot of it has to do with luck. You look at that woman who was like real cocky about the fact that she did quite well with her letter at 3 a.m., her email from Steve Jobs. Some Montessori math app she made.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, you worked hard, but sometimes I think one guy did say, like, hard work pays off here. Like not always, like
Most of the time.
Most of the time, which I think is fair. I think that's fair because it doesn't mean it always. It's not like everybody who works hard is always going to achieve great levels of success.
It's true.
So there's an element of like, let's be reasonable about that. It's not like everything's always a meritocracy and all that sort of thing.
But I feel like I often focus on the lack of meritocracy.
Yeah.
So it was actually refreshing to see the other side. It was jingoistic and whatever you want to call it, but to be like, yeah, you know what? Like, I do make a living at comedy here, and that is why I moved here, and it has, bore fruit the way I hoped it would.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously always think about what more you can achieve and all these things, but the promise of America has been realized for me in some way. So, like I said, I can easily focus on the things I don't like about it here, and the news can, and mainstream media, the MSM as you like to call it. But it is a good, if you do work hard, things can happen here. Not that it can happen in Canada or England or wherever, but even those countries, you just mentioned the inherent issues with entertainment specifically in Canada. The one woman in this documentary mentioned in England, there's a hierarchy. You can't just be born, and again, not just one woman's opinion, but she was saying you can't just like come from nothing and hope to work your way into positions of high power. That's not how England works. Whereas America, as the one guy at the very beginning of the doc said, when I saw a poor black man become president, a man, Obama wasn't poor by the time he became president, but his humble beginnings, he said, I knew I had to live here. Yeah,
that was inspirational. I mean, I think I was living here when I had the work visa. I was living here when Obama became president, and it felt like, wow, this is like biblical, right? This is like, this is coming up from a culture where this what's it called? This society started by having slaves, that to get to a point where it sounds biblical, to become the king from slaves, it's that kind of thing. So that was definitely inspirational. It did feel like, maybe there's it's like the hope and change, like something's changing. But of course, all it did was it just pushed down all the things that were ugly and waited until they bubbled up again, which is unfortunate. But there is that regeneration aspect to this country that I think is very attractive. This idea that wow, I really don't like where it's heading, and then maybe 4 years later it looks like it's changing again. As long as we take care of this whole inequality, income inequality, then we'll have something. Yeah. But they got to take care of that already. This top 1% of 1%, they got to do something about that.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but that's the thing, is we talked about that last week with the Federal Reserve episode. Those are the things that are like easy to focus on because they're so real. So it was actually nice to take a sip of this American Kool-Aid and just hear, I'm proud to be an American 20 times during this documentary. Well, at least I know I'm free.
I'm glad that you did, by the way, you warmed up your vocal cords before doing that.
Drank some ginger tea. I knew I was bringing out the big gun today.
Oh my God. Yeah, to hear that. So I didn't get to sing things like that, sing along.
Damn.
Yeah.
This land is your land. This land is mine.
No, I don't think this is the right time for this.
And you mentioned would you say you got your green card in Obama's first term?
No, the work visa. Actually, it wasn't in his term. In fact, it was. I moved in January, and then in November he got elected into office. So that was amazing. It felt like, wow, I just moved here, and look at this. Look what I've moved into. It's like it's a new beginning. It all felt wrapped up in my own experience, and then I had to go back, and then I came back here again with a green card. And in January I came back with a green card, and then in November, then they had an election and they voted in another guy.
I got my green card 1 week before Trump was elected. I moved here 1 week later. I watched the election results in a bar in New York City. Wow. So I was doing shows there. I was like, okay. Like the country changed the second I got here. Right. I mean, things were roiling. You could feel it, but nobody thought he was going to win.
I came in, and I was, so it's your energy that really changed things.
Yeah. But I remember I was doing college gigs driving throughout the Northeast. I was up in I was in like New England, Rhode Island, all these places, driving, colleges in the middle of nowhere up there, seeing so many Trump signs on these people's property. You're like, oh, okay.
Things have
So
changed.
it didn't surprise me completely. But
Well, that's interesting, that you mention it, because I'm wearing a blue shirt and you're wearing a red shirt. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
You've never asked me my political affiliations.
Yeah, I don't think I had to.
What else?
I found, by the way, just another thing that when she did talk to the different known political figures like Madeleine Albright, and finding out that her name is actually a Czechoslovakian name originally. What was it? I wrote it down. It was Marijana Korbelova, and came to Ellis Island. Yeah, she was one of those ones that were on political asylum, and she was the one who said that she found that in Britain, the British were kind, and said, let me, whatever we can do for you, let's have whatever, and then it's sort of like, how long will you be staying for? And then the Americans were also very welcoming, but then they said, when will you become a citizen?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was interesting too, that kind of different attitude. What's an attitude towards immigration that, it's funny because people think that there's so much anger towards immigrants, and yet overall Americans, the whole place was built on immigration.
I know, and it's still a very young country.
Yes.
I know. I have some family members who are anti-immigration.
It's also built on, the genocide of First Nations people.
Of course, yeah. They didn't mention that in the movie, so we don't need to touch on it because America, baby.
We don't need to touch on it. No sense of responsibility. That's fine.
No, but they did ignore all that kind of stuff, except at the end there was a brief, like, we need to make sure that we continue to value immigration.
Yeah,
but for the most part, it was just like, rah, rah, rah. And I was there for it. I ate a couple edibles. I was pretty stoned watching it, and it felt good to let the positivity wash over me. Because like I said, there's so much negativity.
It's true.
And I like to believe I keep my eyes open to the world. I don't want to live in ignorance. So give me that negativity so I can see the world for what it is. But for an hour, let me eat those edibles and just believe in the American dream. Do you know how many times they said only in America in this documentary?
Yeah, they loved saying only in America.
Yeah, only in America.
That's the part that wasn't true. That's what I love when they say, I kind of thing, and I sell whatever I want in this country, only in America, and also Canada and Australia and a lot of Europe and whatever.
Yeah.
It's the only in America. I think she said actually, only America, huh? The documentarian Alexandra said, only in America, huh? And I thought, Alexandra, you're more educated than this. It's not just only in America. See, I can't help it. I can't let all positivity wash over me because I have a critical mind that will not stop.
I can shut mine off when I want.
Yeah,
and
I could see that.
And it felt damn good, man. Yeah. Like, did you see? Oh, man, this guy was so charismatic. I feel like that bug left something on my eye. They're hatching.
You know what? Immigration. Those are some eye babies. And
I welcome them with open arms. Yeah. Welcome to the country of my cornea.
Yeah. Beautiful. You still have that good vibe going. Good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I am willing to give a part of myself up to these new immigrants. You know what I mean? If I was a British guy, I would have been like, and when will you be leaving my eye?
It's lucky flies.
That charismatic dude from India who owned the cigarette shop, that guy made me smile, where he was like, I don't even want to say. Well, sorry, this accent is terrible, but he was like, I won't do the accent.
You shouldn't. Thank you for stopping yourself.
I don't even want to say what kind of business I own, because from where he was from in India, you couldn't even smoke. I think he was Hindu, but he said his religion, you couldn't smoke.
That's right.
But he was like, I'm a businessman. I have to own a business. And then at the end, when he did this little smile. I forget what he said, but it was like the perfect smile about like, gotta make money.
What are you going to do? Yeah. But she would feel like she was digging at him a little bit too, sort of like, but don't you feel like, kind of questioning his moral stance?
Yeah.
And to hell with her. But I want to hell with her, that was a bit much, but I wanted to touch upon another moment with another one of these political figures, which was Henry Kissinger.
Yeah.
Right? Which was, again, it was really interesting. He's you know, a lot of people have problems with him. I don't know that much about that time in history, but I do know that some people consider him to be a war criminal, pretty much.
100%.
Yes. So
my positive feelings there, I really had to work hard to keep him going when he came on. I know very little, but I know it's a negative connotation, but I was like, let's hear what Henry Kissinger
and
has
it did
to say.
sound inspirational coming from him when he's saying how he was, you know, he just happened to be, you know, by the stroke of luck of a series of events of his life, going from, you know, was it a brush factory, working in a brush factory, 16-year-old drafted into the army, and just this idea that he was just by he said a series of events that you wouldn't have time, and it almost sounds like he was going to say have time in your little documentary, and that he would become a Secretary of State in the most he said tragic and complex times in American history, and he was a foreign-born with an accent. And then she
Post-Vietnam, Watergate.
That's right, Watergate in Vietnam, yes. And she brings up something like, oh, you know, so I heard that they said that your brother speaks, and she got it.
Younger brother.
Yeah, younger brother, and she got it wrong, and in the way she got it wrong in a way that sounded insulting.
She said your younger brother speaks perfect English.
And
he said, I don't know about perfect, but he doesn't have an accent.
That's exactly it. It's sort of like, well, wait a moment, I speak perfect. I'm Secretary of fucking State. I speak perfect English.
Show a little respect. I will kill you. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. No, that's old me. But then he did say the joke about that, which is what his brother said, which is kind of, I mean, you figure he's a Secretary of State. He's always got the president's ear. So the idea that his brother said that, that's because I'm the Kissinger that listens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that was a little thing. But it was just, I just thought it was pretty funny that I would be embarrassed by that. I wouldn't keep that in the.
Really? I thought it was funny. I think she gave him a chance to make a good joke, and, you know, she was willing to put her ego aside. That's what I do. You know what I mean? I say a lot of dumb stuff just to set you up, because I don't care, man.
Yeah.
I'm a canvas for you to paint on.
No,
that's how I like to think of it.
That sounds gross.
See, I set that up. I knew it was gross.
I do appreciate that. I do, but it's easy for you. You know, you don't have that much to give.
Okay. You know what I loved? The selling of the tchotchkes and souvenirs at the ceremony. I don't know another word for tchotchke, but I feel like that's a word you would use. It's
knick-knack if you want to use.
Knick-knack.
If you want to use a non-Yiddish word.
But it's such a good word, tchotchke.
Yeah.
But that was the most American.
Tchotchkes.
Tchotchkes? Is that how you say it?
Tchotchke. It's tchotchke, not tchotchke. But, you know, I expect that from you people.
You people. The hell does that mean?
Canadians.
Tchotchke. Tchotchke.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say it right.
Tchotchke, yeah.
But them selling all the tchotchkes and souvenirs outside the naturalization ceremony, I was like, if that's not the most American thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
You didn't?
I got nothing. This is what I get, which is wonderful. But it's lovely. I'm happy. I've got it.
Can I feel the weight of it?
It's plastic. What are you gonna do?
That's nice. It'd be nice if there's a pencil on the end, give some function to it.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Something like that. Maybe I could, or even one of those little nubs that you use to go on your phone. We kind of, but you know, I think that if you are you allowed to take the flag and make it multi-use? I don't think you're supposed to do that.
I mean, if you can make a Speedo out of it.
Writing with it, is that good? Is that okay? I guess that's flag waving inadvertently.
Yeah, people use Speedos. You know what I mean?
Come
on,
Speedo.
There's no rules anymore.
It's pride. It's American pride.
Here a couple things I like, because just simplicity of what people like about America. The one woman from the Philippines, when she asked her what her favorite thing was about America, she said the 911. You call and they come to your rescue.
Didn't that stop you for a second though? Didn't that stop you when I heard, what's your favorite thing? The 911. Did she just say 9/11? Like
I didn't even think of that.
Just the way it sounded, like the 911. Oh, I had a great time when that happened. What? Yes, it is, but it's true. In Philippines, they don't have that, and so that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, it did shock both me and my wife at the time.
Oh, you both?
We both went. Did you just? I said, yeah, I thought that for a second too.
The gay guy from Iran saying, you know, you couldn't be gay in Iran. The Israeli couple saying that, you know, 18 to 21, you have to go to the army. I knew men had to do that. I didn't know men and women.
Oh, yeah,
they
18,
said best years of your life, you have to be in the army. The soldier from Jamaica.
I didn't do that much, 18 to 20. Those weren't the best years of my life.
No?
I was a virgin.
18 to 21?
I was a virgin. Nothing was happening.
When can I ask when you lost your virginity?
22, I think.
Wow, yeah, you would have been a great soldier, man. That's a lot of pent up anger there
Yeah,
from 18 to 21.
Totally. I jizz all over everybody.
A weapon, if I've ever heard one, right there.
Totally.
Oh no, it's this guy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say that I freely say when I lost my virginity for the people out there who might be self-conscious. Don't worry about it. Look at me. I'm doing okay.
You turned out great.
I'm doing all right. I got a lot of personality.
Yeah, you don't get started too young either. There's consequences to that as well,
It's true. Hey, there was a time where you didn't until you got married. So to hell with all of you.
Oh, the girl from Indonesia, the little person.
Of course, after a while, I did have depression mentality. A friend of mine calls it that. You have the depression mentality because you didn't have it back earlier, so then you need it too much later. Anyway, what about the girl?
Is that I thought depression mentality was you hoarded.
You hoard, whatever you could get.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
so do you go a little crazy after you lost your virginity? Like making up for lost time?
No. I was married.
Oh, yeah, you got married.
No, I screwed up.
I
screwed up.
The soldier from Jamaica who joined the army. He
Yeah.
was like, without the American army, the world would be in chaos. There's so many things. Like we talk about the negative stuff about the U.S.
Sure.
Army all the time. Police.
Right.
The woman saying 911 was her favorite part. You don't hear a lot of pro-police rhetoric.
It's true. 911.
Him being like the
military.
army. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean there's a lot. There's a lot on both sides of that argument. Does military help more than it hurts? I mean, of course that would be the hopeful intention, but a lot of people think that it has more to do with kind of an imperialism of control at some point.
But that's all the stuff I always focus on, Alex. Let's talk about how without the U.S. Army, the world would be chaos.
Yes, it might be in chaos. It may very well be. But you know what? If the Nazis won, maybe they would inflict a certain order on the world. A new world order is what I'm trying to talk about here.
What's the I was going to say the American army just pulled out of Afghanistan right now. The Taliban's going hog wild over there right now.
Who's this?
The Taliban.
Yeah, are they?
Oh, yeah, because America's withdrawing. There's a power vacuum now.
Isn't it?
So it's like, I don't know, the geopolitical thing, it's easy to be like, oh, man, America, imperialism and everything. And a lot of the problems happening now are probably because of their presence there, all those sorts of things. But I would like to believe that there are people there who are actually trying to make the world a better place.
Oh, for sure. I think there were people who definitely were terrified about America pulling out, and young girls I heard interviewed on the radio just saying, I want to go to school and I want to be educated and I want to, and if the Taliban comes in, then those aren't options. So,
but
I mean, there are times where, we can't fix everything. You got to fix your own problems sometimes, right? We can't go in there fix everything.
I know.
Taliban, though, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about these things.
I know. It's very complicated. So that's why it felt good to hear people be like, go Army.
I like that. It's very
go
complicated.
Police.
So simple pride in one's own country.
Yeah. You know what I realized is I came up, 9/11 happened. I'm talking about the real 9/11 here, not 9/11.
Sure.
Happened when I was in 10th grade. I was 15 years old in 2001. Yeah, I was born in 86. So I'm a post 9/11, I was a teenager, young teenager. That was when I was really starting to form my consciousness, my opinions and everything. So I'm like kind of a post 9/11 guy in that respect. And then, obviously everything that happened with us going in, the weapons of mass destruction. I say us. I should do the citizenship thing. But with America going in, and I watched a lot of The Daily Show. And so my early formative years were very cynical about George W. Bush, America's role in the geopolitical kind of sphere. So and then obviously recently things have been pretty haywire as well. So that is my default setting. So last night really did feel like a break. It really felt like just once. I know it's not perfect here, but if that movie for 50 minutes was like a slice of American pie, man, it went down nice.
It did, didn't it? It did. It felt good. I mean, I actually did feel good. I'm glad that we chose to watch it after I had been sworn in, because
Did you get emotional?
I felt like, oh, this actually does feel good because otherwise it actually gave more importance and meaning to the experience than simply just going through it, especially the way we went through it, where it was just like lining up, everybody all around, do the swear in, go over there, pick up your certificate, take a picture, gone. That's all it was. It took no time at all. And so watching that did feel like, oh, okay. So, okay, first of all, that's what I missed. And second of all, right, okay, so there is, yes, this is a shift in my life that I'm now have more of an emotional connection to, and I appreciated that. That was good. I did like that movie. I did like the movie for that. It was useful. It just was a good way to celebrate this momentous occasion.
It is a momentous occasion. It really is.
Yeah.
You're a citizen of the United States of America.
What does momentous really mean? It's
Of
just
the
an adjective
moment.
of the moment. It's really not that much. It's really, like, a moment is a momentous occasion.
Momentous. Yeah, I don't know.
But then momentum.
Momentum.
That's pretty strong.
That's true. Memento.
I'll
No,
have
different word.
Yeah. Mentos?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Wait. Let me go.
Oh, we didn't even mention there were so many powerful people in this, right? Ariana Huffington, Madeleine Albright,
That's right.
Henry Kissinger.
That's right.
But we didn't mention the most powerful.
Kiss.
Gene fucking Simmons,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Kiss. Yeah. It was crazy to watch him because him talking about being from Israel, I've never, like, I knew somewhere in my mind that he was Jewish, but he was never more Jewish to me than in that moment.
Jewish. He was never more Jewish to me than in that moment. I was aware of his Jewishness. I didn't know what his name was. What was it, like Svi? I
I
It's like
didn't
a
write
very,
it down,
it's a very
but
Jewish sounding name. And
he,
then
he had one of the greatest quotes I've ever seen when he was talking about why America's so great, talking about all the great inventors and everything that's come out of America. And he said, even the night is no longer off limits.
that was pretty good.
Somebody invented light. Americans.
Right. He's so funny. First of all, I like the fact the night wasn't off limits. Was funny.
Yeah.
Invented light is not exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And yes, it was a bulb. The bulb was invented by an American. But he did get it wrong when he said that, like, Superman is American.
Canadian.
Two Canadian Jews
Really?
invented Superman. Yeah.
Wow. I remember that, the Canadian Heritage moment that
right.
used to run on TV.
I knew it before the moment, but yes, the moment, the Canadian Heritage moment showed off those two Canadian brothers. And I think they had, like, nice little Jewish names too.
Did they?
Not that it matters. I don't want to be one of those guys that becomes like, you Jewish? Like I somehow take, it's the same thing.
You
like
identify as a Jewish American.
now I do, yeah. So did you know that he's American? I can do that. He's American, Jewish American. Yes. I want to get that guy's name, actually. I wonder. I forgot what Gene Simmons' real name is.
Okay, let's get into our final three questions here.
All right, here
Alex.
we are.
And before we get into it, I just want to let the people know, if you have anything to say about this episode, send us a message. Leave a message at 707-506-6257. We'll get back to you. Alex, what did you learn?
I learned that I got ripped off on my ceremony. I didn't get as much as I wanted to. There's way more to do. I could have sang. I could have told everybody what country I'm from. I could have talked to different people and really communicate. Because I think I did. I learned that I lost a little bit of the community of the experience. I did learn that. I learned some other things, but I learned that most of all.
Okay. I learned that this is, again, I'm going to continue with the feeling I had last night. I learned that America ain't so bad, Alex.
Right. Is this more of the feeling? You want to save this for the next one?
The feeling? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. But I actually learned it or relearned it.
Okay.
It was a feeling, but it was like I could, like, feel my brain taking in the input of propaganda.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't propaganda. It was a proper documentary. But I really did learn to appreciate what I have here. I have a home.
Mm-hmm.
We're free to speak our opinions.
Mm-hmm.
There's good here. And it was kind of refreshing to focus on that.
Right.
Alex, how did you feel?
Jeez. Too much sincerity here. I felt pretty good. It felt good. It felt good to to feel part of something, a community, and to focus on the positive of what I have, of this opportunity that I have, of being being free to do the things that I can do and all that sort of thing. I did feel that from Canada, but it just felt like it was good to see. It felt good to see people who really, really wanted this. Not just a guy from Canada who just didn't want to have to bother applying to his green card again.
So did you take a spot from one of them? Because there's got to be a finite amount of, did some woman from a war-torn country not get to come to America because you have?
Yeah, they probably have a limit, and I probably took it away from somebody who really, there's probably some blood on my hands, if that's what you're asking.
That is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's your answer.
I felt really great at one part in particular, the woman who fled here, speaking of war-torn countries, from Kosovo. And she said, America to me isn't just a country, it's a guardian. And that was really inspiring because, again, it's easy to focus on all the negative stuff, but there's people who are in tough spots. Obviously, America isn't the only country they're fleeing to. There's lots of European nations that are taking in people from Syria, for example, although Syrians come here too. Anyway, the point is, there's a lot of countries where people would give an arm and a leg, and they do give a lot to come to America. So I felt appreciative that I'm able to live here.
Yes, I can appreciate that too. And yes, I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, and there are times where that America does take the responsibility of helping out people who are in bad situations. So I do appreciate that too.
Actually, I think Kissinger was part of that era where, because everybody thought of America as being the good guys and the guardians, and Vietnam was the era where the perception of America as not being the standard bearers of good in the world began to shift.
That's a good point.
So I think, but that's how I always think, because I am cynical and everything. So I'm pushing that all away. I'm just going back to the appreciation. America can be a guardian when it's at its best. And that felt good to realize and remember.
Yes.
And not think about the other.
Let's not look at the whole picture. Just let's focus on the really good part.
Exactly.
Yes, that feels good. We're not using our brain here, we're using our heart.
You know what I like about our dynamic is that I'm a very cynical person, but you are as well. So I feel like I can turn my cynicism down a little bit and let you take over.
Yeah.
Bear the weight of the cynicism.
I've got it for you whenever you need it.
Okay. Finally, where do we go from here?
I vote.
So you're going to vote for Newsom to not be recalled?
Yeah, I don't want to. It'll be a big mess, and I don't think it's worth it. I think this is just a waste of time and waste of energy, waste of money.
I drove north. Imagine I drove all the way up to San Jose from LA this week. And when you're out in the middle of rural California, there's a lot of recall Newsom signs.
Oh, there you go.
Everywhere you look.
Sure.
So this could be tight.
I guess so, which is why I have to take on my civic responsibility.
I love it.
Although if I say too much about this sort of thing, I'm sticking my neck out, might get chopped off by certain people who don't agree with me, you know what I mean? But that's my right as an American.
You goddamn right. Ooh. You dropped the flag, everybody. Disrespect.
God, let's do that again.
Oh, okay. There we go. I'm not going to edit out the drop, though.
Thanks. Oh.
Where do we go from here? For me, I'm going to look into joining you in American citizenship.
Ooh.
I think I'm very intrigued. I'm eligible. Other than the moral thing, I got to look over what all the moral questions are.
Oh, yeah. I think you'll be all right.
You think?
You're a bit habitual, but other than that.
So, yeah, I think I really am going to,
I think you might.
Yeah, why not?
I thought you might.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let me just get my Lee Greenwood on here. I'm
Please.
proud to be an American.
I'm not saying.
Well, at least I know I'm free. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, me and Alex, who's walking around here, you can't bear to listen to me sing anymore, we're going to watch a movie called Fantastic Fun Guy.
Oh, that should be good.
On Netflix. And, it is going to be good. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So we're going to learn about mushrooms next week. Won't you join us? Join me, this Canadian, and Alex, this new American.
Intentional and fresh.
Intentional and fresh. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks to you.
See you guys.